Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Jack Devine. Welcome back to another episode of Jacksnax. Today on the channel, we're going to talk about 6/9 arpeggios, in particular in the key of A and D. Okay, so I'm going to share with you this little fingering out of A, 1, 3, 5, 6, root 2, okay, 3, 5. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing out of D. Okay, and it's kind of a retreat arpeggio. It's one of these things that kind of falls away. Even as it ascends, it's going backwards up the neck. It comes in very handy for playing up the neck where you're feeling crowded, and you can retreat into a little bit more of a breathable, there's a little bit more breathing room back here. All right, and there's a crafty little picking pattern that I can share with you too. But first, let's talk about the reasoning behind this idea and why I think it's so incredibly effective. All right, if we're playing the loop that I'll include in I'll link to in the description here, is going from an A chord, like a dreamy A9 kind of sound, to again like a D9, but still it's D major. Okay, it's just I'm playing a D9 because it has that kind of sound. Okay, so it's A, right, to D. Okay, so we're seeing an A chord and a D chord. So prevailing wisdom would dictate that we're looking at an A chord going to the 1 chord, so 5, 1, just a typical, typical cadence, just from dominant to tonic. Probably even 5, 7, right? So anybody with, a little bit of theory probably is thinking, oh, well, that's the 5, so I'm going to use my Mixolydian chops over getting onto the 1. Right, just straight up major scale Ionian, right? So, oh, this is a breeze. There's nothing to think about here. And in a way, you'd be right. You could play. Right? Nothing wrong with that. I mean, come on, that sounds really nice, okay? But you might not always want such a tightly structured scale, right? We've got these, look at this, we've got whole steps and half steps. But if we adopt this 6/9 arpeggio, you'll sense a widening of the sound. And this, having control over this parameter, right, this palette of colors, of this open sound, is something that I really love. I wanted to share with you guys. Okay, so check it out. Over the A chord, we're going to play the 1, the 3, the 5, and the 6. So it's going to be middle finger, index finger, pinky. One, 3, 5, 6, 1, 9, 3, 5. And the same over the D chord. And it's a retreat, okay? It definitely goes from, we are going like down the neck, even though we're going up in pitch, okay? So the scale is ascending, but it's particularly handy to have a few of these in your back pocket, because when you get up on the neck and you're building and stuff like that, sometimes you want to go up in pitch, but you're here and you can't deal with how crowded the fretboard can be, okay? So you don't want to fat finger your way through something as tender as this kind of loop. So this is a really nice option to have one of these, what I call retreat runs, okay? And by no means am I suggesting that you exclude the more typical 7-tone diatonic approach, okay? I'm just saying, check this out. It sounds pretty good, okay? Okay, and I'm just gonna set it up. Okay, so over the A, and over the D. commingling it a little bit, but really what am I doing? I'm looking at that 1, 3, 5, and the 6. And how we're lopping off the 7. We're not playing over top of the A chord. We're not hitting the G. All right, and we're certainly not hitting the 4. Okay, these are the notes that we're really working to avoid. Okay. All right, and the 4 and the 7 are usually the notes that I find gives the stank to a particular mode. And this kind of more open sound is a little less declarative. It doesn't really say, here I am, this is what I'm all about. It's more of like what I call like a stem cell kind of idea. It's non-declarative. You can play it over any generic major sound, okay? Because it doesn't have any of the distinguishing intervals that you find in the other 2 remaining major chords, right? We've got 3 major chords at our disposal. We have the Ionian chord, that's the 1 chord with the natural 4 and a major 7. We have the 5 chord with a flat 7 and the major 3rd and the natural 4. And then we have the 4 chord, which is that Lydian chord, which is a beautiful sound. And we can incorporate Lydian fingerings over top of it. We could play G Lydian, and I'll show you how to do that. But the bottom line is we might not always want to have every note that we can have present in every line that we play. Sometimes skipping over these intervals can really provide us with a breadth to the soundscape that we're creating. Okay, so check it out. By creating a more pentatonic sound, we end up with, I guess, a more open sound. Kind of reminds me a lot of Aaron Copland's compositions, even some Jimi Hendrix. Okay, Eric Johnson uses this sound a lot. It's a very, very, even though it's non-declarative, it still kind of tickles my ear. Okay, it just doesn't. It doesn't have. You won't be hearing this G note very much, if at all. Okay, so here we go. Let's try it again. A. Okay, here's my arpeggio. Right? So this is just 2 major pentatonics. Now we can throw in some colors. We can put in, we just don't have to have it every single time. Sometimes playing that kind of more open pentatonic sound, which is a 6/9 arpeggio. And let me show you how that comes to be thought of as a 6/9 arpeggio by little old moi. All right, if we look at the 1, 3, and 5, right, we're skipping over that 2, okay, and we're going to add that later, right? We're going to add that later as a 9. So we've got the 1, 3, 5, 6, root 2. Okay, we've got the 6 twice in the scale, so, or in the arpeggio, so it really brings out that 6y sound, okay? All right, we can get to that same sound here. Okay. That's doing it in 5s, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, but we don't always have to blow through it like that. This is kind of a sweet thing to know about. And then D. Okay, so let's take a little stroll and see how that sounds when we commingle it with the more straight ahead. Okay. Oh, one more thing. Let's take another look at another alternative 6th arpeggio, an arpeggio that emphasizes that major 6th. Okay, it's going to look like you're playing F sharp minor. with a flat 7 in it. Okay, 1, 3, 5, flat 7. Okay, root, minor 3, 5, flat 7. F sharp minor 7. Arpeggio. Really, really sweet, fluid sound. Okay, and consequently, that's going to be what we play over our A chord, because that's the relative minor of our A major. So we can substitute the A major's relative minor, which is that F sharp minor we just did. And we're going to do the same thing over the D chord. We're going to come in up here, and I'm just going to play the B minor. Okay, and these are straight ahead. Okay, minor 7th arpeggios, which if we think about them as starting from the D note, you'll see that we've got a 6th below, then the 3rd, the 5, the 6, the root again. So if we put it in the context of these major chords, we get 2 6ths. God, that's a difficult word to say. Anyway, check it out. Over the A chord. And over top of the D chord. Sound, okay? And now the pentatonic arpeggio. Right? Now when I bring in my diatonic intervals, they mean a little bit more to me anyway. That's pretty much it. The only thing to really talk about now is, now that we've got the concept down, how to get the right hand to behave. And this can be probably the most tricky. All right. I probably, like you, grew up being taught alternate picking. Okay, so that would mean that in order to pick this successfully, I would go down, up, 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 down. And that works. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's a good exercise for practicing your alternate picking. But there is a more fluid way, I have found anyway, to get through stuff like this. And if anybody's been, pardon me, tuning into these lessons, they've probably heard me talk about 2-1-2 arpeggios. And 2-1-2 arpeggios basically mean there's 2 notes on a string, 1 note on a string, 2 notes, 1 note, 2 notes, okay? And if we could do a 2-1-2-1-2, okay, or a 2-1-2-1-2, the pattern doesn't stop, arbitrarily on the A string. The pattern isn't necessarily that it always starts with a 2. It's that if there's a 2, the next thing is a 1. And if the next thing is a 1, then the next string has 2. Unless, of course, you want to just play 1 note on that string. You could go 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. You could do that. That just means you're doing all downward sweeps. All right? But what I'm doing here is I'm going to do a 1. Okay, just 1 note on the E string, then 2. And I'm going to create this little 3-note system across these 2 strings, the E and the A. Down, down, up. That's 2 downstrokes and then an up, down, down, up, down, down, up. And this is what we call a rest stroke. Some people call this economy picking, okay, or directional picking. Okay, what are we doing? Look at the right hand. We're plucking through the E string and resting on the A. So basically just parking our pick right there on the A. for a little while. We just want to practice that. If you can get that together, okay, and then you have the cell. Then you're going to be going middle finger, middle finger, middle finger, I think, right? No, middle finger, middle finger, middle finger, right? So if you come here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and the middle finger leads the charge on this retreat. Very fun and systematic. Okay, you can't miss with this 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, again out of A. Okay, and that's pretty much it. And you looked at the, if you looked at the other arpeggios that I was whizzing through, you know, that fluid sound is again 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So I'm basically just brushing right through the strings. Very sweet and silky. It's just a matter of experimenting with brushing through and letting a pull off or two take some of the heavy lifting. Okay, and then we come up here. So look at the right hand. I'm not sweating. My right hand can do that all day. It just takes a little time not to rush through the strings. So get a click track, metronome, whatever. Tick, 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 tick. Right? Okay, probably better to practice it with one that's loopable, like this one. One and two and three and four and one and two. Oh, sorry, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. All right. Now all that stems from what I learned from Tim Miller, okay, who came up with the 2-1-2 system. All right, but he, you know, primarily you see it taught and taught by me as well, like this, as a way of playing like sevenths arpeggios going through your modes. So that would be like as your 1 chord, as your 2 chord, 3 chord, right, 4 chord. That's the Lydian sound we were talking about, so that would be G Lydian. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's nice. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, really nice little system that Tim came up with. He does it with picking and plucking and some hammer-ons and stuff like that. And you think, if I sound fluid, wow. If you think I sound fluid, this man is a waterfall of fluidity. He is so silky smooth. I like a little grit. I like a little tooth. I like to play it better than that. Okay, so that's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Anyway, you can find this all this kind of stuff in my YouTube tips, you know, section. Okay, so it'll be under Tim Miller 2-1-2 arpeggios. Okay, I think I have a couple of lessons, but this is kind of my own thing here, where I'm utilizing Tim's technique of doing the 2-1-2 system, but employing it against the structure of a 6/9 arpeggio or the pentatonic scale kind of displaced like this. Okay, so here we go. One more time, and then I'm out. Okay, so. have a great day. I really do thank you for tuning in. And, you know, if you haven't subscribed and you liked what you saw, hey, here's my chance to plug it. Please subscribe.